It's Steve Batton paying attention to you on Freedom 1110 WKQA.
The executive order gets rescinded. One good thing
You'll rescind that one too?
One good thing
You'll rescind the Dream Act executive order.
You're going to have to.
DACA.
We have to make a whole new set of standards. And when people come in, they have to
You're
come
going to
in.
split up families.
Chuck,
You're going to deport children.
Chuck, no. We're going to keep the families together. We have to keep the families together.
But you're going to keep them together out.
But they have to go.
What if they have no place to go?
We will work with them. They have to go. Chuck, we either have a country or we don't have a country.
Donald Trump will meet the press on Sunday talking about his immigration plan with Chuck Todd. Here to join us to also talk about that. Trump is right to put American workers first, he says. Curtis Ellis, the executive director of the American Jobs Alliance. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Steve.
How are you?
I'm just great. I'm ADHD, but I'm paying attention to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, Beck was right about that. He was.
Yes, he was.
I heard you chuckle, by the way. So.
I've worked for many talk radio hosts. He's absolutely right.
He's absolutely.
We're all ADHD.
What were we talking about? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Oh, wait. I know. Donald Trump. Now, his immigration plan, I thought it was interesting that that Chuck Todd went exactly where the left goes every. What about the babies? What about the babies? Are you gonna snatch little babies from the hospital? You know, that's exactly where they go. I mean,
Donald Trump's going to take them out of the incubators and kill them the way Saddam did to the Kuwaiti babies, right? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Or like Planned Parenthood does, right? But that's a whole other subject for another day. So, your point, if I get it correctly, is that he's right because he needs to put American workers first.
Well, that's right. He's exactly right, Steve. And that's right in the plan that is up on his website that he gave. And that's the one point that all of these journalists, so-called journalists, if they pretend to pay attention to the substance of what Trump is talking about, that's the one point they ignore. He puts it right there. Put American workers first. This unrestricted immigration, all of these foreign guest workers through H-1B visas, the flood of green card legal immigrants, plus this tsunami of illegal low-wage labor coming across the border, plus these ridiculous phony free trade deals, which have led to the offshoring of millions of jobs, have been an unmitigated disaster for the American worker.
Now, one of the things that you mentioned there, which again, I find it interesting because most of the media, they were quick to say he has no substance, he has no plan, he has soundbite answers, and that's it. Well, now that he has a plan, they want to. They're apoplectic. It's he does have a plan, and now what do we do? But one of the things that he has brought to the forefront is H-1B visas. And that is something that just doesn't gain a lot of traction with people because maybe they don't understand what an H-1B is and how it works. And the way I've explained it to people, and you correct me if I'm incorrect, is let's say you want to bring an IT professional over here. You get them this H-1B, and you pay a guy that should be making $150, maybe 70 or 80. And you knock a guy who should be making $150 here in the United States out of that job. Do I have that incorrect?
You have that absolutely correct. And the establishment favorite candidate right now, Marco Rubio, has a bill before Congress that would triple the number of visas, of those H-1B visas. Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, and Jeb Bush is all in favor of that. Jeb Bush. Marco Rubio, by the way, both of them are from Florida.
Jeb who?
Yeah, right. And what you described happened to a bunch of people working for Disney World down in Florida.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Free trade. Talk about that quickly. Again, something I don't think people grasp. Free trade.
Free trade is a mislabeling and misnomer for what is being sold as free trade.
A politician mislabeled, misnomered something? Oh, no.
Exactly. Yeah. The pundits and the journalists are all interested in substance from politicians. Well, voters and American people know what kind of substance politicians issue forth, and you flush it. You know, that's the substance we expect. So we're not so interested. And this free trade is so-called free trade. I call it phony free trade. It's the right for an American in name-only company, a multinational global corporation, to shut a factory down in Canton, Ohio, and move it to Canton, China, and then bring the goods back in duty-free tax-free, tariff-free, that used to be made in Ohio. They now bring them in from China to sell in Ohio. And so who loses in that proposition?
Sure.
Well, the guys and gals that used to be making $15-20 an hour in Ohio. And who gains? Well, some Chinese guy that may be making $1 a day now that used to make nothing and sit in a rice paddy. But who really gains is the Wall Street boys who own the company. They now get a little fatter profit.
So free trade is, and I like what you label it there, phony free trade. Now, what else about Donald Trump's immigration plan do you, and what about this is a little off subject here, but the citizenship birthright thing, the anchor baby thing?
Yeah, well, that's very interesting because that's, again, as you say, the left is all apoplectic about it. Oh, my gosh, it's in the Constitution that anybody born here is automatically a citizen. That was Amendment 14, the 14th Amendment,
right.
And it was for the freed slaves.
Yes.
It was it was added specifically for the African-American people who were brought here against their will and were working on plantations in the South. And it said they are citizens. So that way nobody could make an argument about it. You couldn't have some corrupt local official somewhere, in one of the former slave states trying to say, well, they're not, they can't vote, they can't do this, they can't do that because they're not citizens.
Right.
But now it's considered, so it's really, it was meant for one thing, now it's being used for something else. And there is no other country on earth that says if you're born here, you're automatically a citizen here.
Right. Now, and there are those who are trying to say, and I don't know the answer to this, maybe you do, that Donald Trump wants to deport people who were born here and kind of retroactive. Is that what he wants to do, or does he want to move forward and say, look, we want to get clear on this, that you don't have birthright, or amend the Constitution or do whatever's necessary? What is his plan in that respect? Do you know? I don't know the answer to that.
Well, there is no such thing as an ex post facto law. So let's say by some magic wand was waved and birthright citizenship was rescinded. Everybody's already born here.
Right.
They're already citizens here.
Right.
I mean, they're not going to become non-citizens, though the Republican Party would like Donald Trump to become a non-citizen and a non-person and just disappear. But the bosses of the Republican Party, let me be clear. But what's he going to do? I mean, he said anybody who's here illegally has got to go. And they, you're going to split up families? He said, no, we're going to keep the families together. They got to go. Then they can come back. They can apply and come back. So, look, if baby is a citizen because baby was born here, but mama's not a citizen because she wasn't born here, she has a choice. She can stay with her family, take the baby back to Monterrey, Mexico, and then come back. Or she could leave baby here with her neighbor who might be a citizen and leave and come back. I mean, that's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. And the other thing he said is every 14-point plan that you lay out, when you go into a business negotiation, you know that it's all going to change by the end.
Right.
So they all try to trip him up. Well, what about this? What about that? Well, that's all going to get worked out. But you put out some objectives in the first place. And when he laid out his objectives, so he's got his detailed immigration plan, but he put out 3 objectives at the front, and it basically comes down to putting American workers first.
The next thing they'll say is, well, it's not practical, you can't do it. Well, as far back as Eisenhower, they did it. When I was a teenager, Jimmy Carter actually did it. He called it Operation Clean Sweep, although Eisenhower called it, I don't like the name, Operation Wetback. But what they did, did you know that? Did you know Eisenhower did that?
I know. I did not know they called it Operation Wetback.
That was the name of it.
That's what they used to call the illegal.
That was the name of it.
And it was considered, and they used to call the individual, they called the people wetbacks, and that was considered, like the N-word or something.
That's correct. And what they did is they removed enough of them that other people self-deported, which the liberals will tell you will never happen.
Well, and exactly. When they say, "Oh, it's impractical, you can't deport 40 million people," what are you going to do? Turn this into a Gestapo Nazi police state? No, they're going to do it themselves. We're not going to ask anybody to. We're not going to have them round up the round up the usual suspects here. It's like, well, it's time to go. You're not going to be able to get a job. You're not going to, so you're not going to get your paycheck. So it's going to be time to go someplace where you can work.
And
now,
go ahead.
Just one quick note on that Operation Wetback. Lyndon Johnson, when he was a senator, he fought for the guest worker program, for the quote-unquote wetback program, even though the Mexicans in the state of Texas were against it, because they knew that these guest workers coming in from another country were depressing their wages.
Yes.
And they were against bringing in more Mexicans from Mexico, but the planters and the big business people wanted the cheap labor, and Lyndon Johnson worked for the cheap labor and the big business people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a whole nother subject, too, with the people who employ the illegal aliens. I don't mind calling them that. We need to clamp down on them as well. We're not doing that. All right.
That's right, exactly, and that's in Trump's plan.
Yeah.
And that's the secret here. It's big business that wants all this stuff. They want the phony free trade. They want the unrestricted immigration. It's all about cheap labor, so they can pay people less. And who gets it? Our middle-class workers.
Right, and that E-Verify system's already in place. We just need to implement it and enforce it. Curtis Ellis, Executive Director of American Jobs Alliance. If people want to know more about what you do, where do they go?
AmericanJobsAlliance.com. We're on Twitter, AmJobsAlliance. And you can also go to our Facebook page. That's the